This is Ralph Losey, the director and verifier of Echoes of AI, where the podcasters themselves are AI and they write the podcast, not me.
Okay, so we're diving into this comparison of human and artificial intelligence, and you brought some really interesting material that tackles this profound question. What makes human intelligence different? What sets it apart from the artificial kind? And we're not just talking processing power or efficiency. No. We're going way deeper than that into what these differences really mean for us, for how we see the world, even for our place in the universe.
It really is a fascinating exploration. And even from the start, the sources are all pointing to one fundamental thing, this really key distinction, which is humans are multidimensional, but AI is essentially one-dimensional. And that right there, that opens up so many questions.
I think that's what really grabbed my attention too when I was looking at this idea of using dimensions to describe the very nature of intelligence. So maybe we should break that down a little for our listener. What does it actually mean for human intelligence to be multidimensional?
Well, I think essentially it means that our intelligence isn't just limited to logic, and reasoning. It's really interconnected with our emotions, with our intuition, our sense of self, our purpose, even our spirituality. All of these different elements work together. They're interwoven to shape how we experience and understand the world.
That makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like saying our intelligence isn't just about thinking, but it's also about feeling and being as well.
Exactly, yeah. And that's where the contrast with AI becomes really, really clear. You see, AI, even when it's at its most advanced, it really operates on a single dimension, and that's processing information. It can learn patterns, it can solve problems that are really complex. It can even try to copy human creativity, at least to a certain extent. But it just doesn't have that same depth of experience, that richness of being that we find with human intelligence.
One of the sources actually used a really compelling metaphor, I thought, to illustrate this point. It talked about how AI can look at music and see all the patterns and even compose, pieces in the style of Bach or Mozart or, some other composer. But could it ever create something that's totally new? Like a whole new genre of music, like jazz, for example. That kind of creative leap, the source argues, that takes more than just being able to recognize a pattern.
Oh, that's such a good example. And it really gets to the core of what's different here. Human creativity isn't just about rearranging what's already there. It's about being inspired by our actual experiences, by our emotions, our understanding of the world and where we fit in. It's about expressing something that's uniquely you, something personal, something that reflects just how deep and complex the human spirit really is. AI just can't get to that level.
And that depth and complexity, that's what the sources keep referring to as multidimensionality, right?
Right, exactly. It's about the layers of meaning and understanding that we as humans just naturally bring to everything we do. It's about seeing the connections, making leaps based on intuition, experiencing the world through that lens of our own emotions and beliefs and values. All these things, they come together and they create a richness that AI, at least how it is right now, just can't truly replicate.
This reminds me of something else that was a big focus in the sources, which is this human search for meaning, right?
Yeah.
We're always looking for the answers to those big questions in life, trying to understand what our purpose is, what our place in the universe is. And it seems like that searching, that drive, that's a key aspect of our multidimensionality too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's part of human consciousness, this drive to search for meaning, to understand our existence on a deeper level. And it's what fuels our philosophical inquiry, our spiritual pursuits, our art. It's what makes us explore what we don't know, to push the boundaries of our knowledge and understanding.
And AI doesn't seem to have that same drive, that yearning for something beyond itself.
No, not inherently, no. AI is something we built to solve very specific problems, to process information, to simplify our lives in some ways. It just doesn't experience the world in the same way that we do, and it doesn't really struggle with these big existential questions, and it doesn't feel the need to connect with something bigger than itself. Not in the way that humans do, at least.
This makes me think about all the people who are worried about AI becoming dangerous or, maybe even surpassing human intelligence one day. But it seems like the sources we're looking at here are suggesting that the real danger isn't AI itself, but more how we decide to use it.
That's such a crucial point. AI is like a reflection of our own intelligence, our own ingenuity, and it can be used for so much good, for science, for solving these really complex problems, for just making our lives better in so many ways. But it can also be used in the wrong way, just like any really powerful tool can. So the responsibility in the end is with us, with humanity, to guide how AI develops and make sure it's helping us achieve our highest values and goals.
So it sounds like the key takeaway here is that even though AI is capable of these really incredible things, it's still something that we created. And we have to use it in a smart way, ethically, and make sure that it doesn't end up making us less human in the process.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, looking at AI, studying what it can do and what it can't do, can even help us understand ourselves better, our own intelligence and all its different sides. After all, we often learn the most about ourselves when we compare and contrast things, right?
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's almost like, AI is this mirror and it's reflecting back all of our aspirations and anxieties, our desire to understand ourselves and the universe, but then at the same time, our fear of what we might find.
Oh, I really like that analogy. It really shows how connected human intelligence and AI actually are. One of the articles even talked about this, about how even though AI can mimic certain aspects of creativity, it doesn't have that real spark. You know what I mean? That deep well of inspiration that drives artists and innovators. That seems to be missing. Yeah, that's so true. Human creativity, it comes from a place of real emotion, right? Personal experience. And this desire to connect with something bigger than just ourselves. Think about all the incredible art, literature, music throughout history, these works that have moved and inspired people for generations. They're all filled with this passion and longing and a really profound understanding of the human condition. Those are qualities that, at least for now, seem to be beyond AI.
So it's not just about being skilled or proficient, technically. It's about the depth of understanding and the feeling that we as humans pour into the creative process. And it seems like this is a really consistent theme that keeps popping up in these sources, this idea that human intelligence is about more than just information. It's about creating meaning. It's about connecting to the world around us on a deeper level, emotionally and even spiritually.
Exactly, precisely. One of the articles even talked about how this multidimensional quality of human intelligence goes even further. It even shows up in our scientific work. It argued that even the most groundbreaking scientific discoveries actually often come from a place of intuition and imagination. This deep sense of wonder about the universe. It's not just cold, hard data. There's this creative spark, like a leap of faith almost, that happens before those scientific breakthroughs.
And that spark, that leap of faith, that's where the human part really shines through, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Think about Einstein. His theory of relativity, one of the most revolutionary ideas in all of science. It didn't come from just crunching numbers and data. It came from this amazing thought experiment, this really creative visualization of writing on a beam of light. That ability to imagine, to think way outside the box, that's what's so powerful about human intelligence.
This leads us to something that really stood out in several of the sources, the spiritual dimension of human intelligence.
Ah, yes. That's where things get really, really interesting. For centuries, philosophers and theologians, they've been thinking about consciousness and the idea of a soul, the possibility of there being something beyond just the material world. And these sources we're looking at, they suggest that this spiritual yearning, this drive to connect with something bigger, it's not just some random idea. It's part of what makes us human. It's a core piece of our intelligence.
And that spiritual part of us, that longing to connect with something greater than ourselves, that seems to be something that AI just doesn't have.
That's right. AI might become incredibly sophisticated, but it just doesn't seem to struggle with the same big questions that we humans do. It doesn't think about the meaning of life, good versus evil, whether there's an afterlife. These are questions that come from us knowing that our time is limited, that we have this finite existence in a universe that's vast and mysterious.
And that awareness, knowing that we're not here forever, that seems to be a big reason why we pursue spirituality and philosophy. It's what drives us to find meaning and purpose in a world that often feels pretty random and chaotic, right?
Absolutely. And that very search for meaning, that desire for something bigger, that's the engine behind so much of human creativity, innovation, our drive to make society better. It inspires us to build communities, create art, explore the unknown, and really push the limits of what we can understand.
It's amazing to think that this deep ability to create meaning, this spiritual searching, is part of what separates us from AI, even as AI keeps getting more and more advanced.
It really is. And it highlights how important it is to really nurture these parts of ourselves, to feed our inner lives, that sense of wonder, that capacity for awe. These are the qualities that make us human. They're what give our lives meaning and depth. And there's something that, as far as we know, no algorithm can ever replicate, no matter how smart it gets.
So as AI continues to evolve, it looks like the real test isn't about trying to beat it at its own game on a technical level. It's about remembering what makes us human in the first place, embracing those qualities that set us apart, and using AI in a way that actually makes us more human, not less.
I couldn't agree more. It's not about humans versus AI. It's about figuring out how humans and AI can work together, each doing what they do best to create a world where everyone can thrive.
It really strikes me that, in a way, this whole conversation about AI is making us think about some really fundamental questions, about what it means to be human.
I think you're right on that. It's like if AI can do things that we always thought were uniquely human, well, then what does that tell us about ourselves? Where's the line, between our intelligence and artificial intelligence?
Yeah, that's a huge question. And it's one that these sources really try to tackle, and they do it in some fascinating ways. One of the articles even suggested that maybe the reason we're so afraid of AI replacing us is because deep down we're afraid of losing our sense of being special. Like we're not the center of everything anymore.
That's such an interesting idea. It's like our anxiety about AI isn't just about jobs or technology taking over. It's about our own self-worth, like where we fit in the grand scheme of things.
So maybe by looking at these differences between human intelligence and artificial intelligence, we're also figuring out what it really means to be human on a much deeper level.
I think so. It's like AI is holding up this mirror and we're seeing ourselves reflected back and we're forced to confront our strengths and weaknesses, what we can do and what we can't.
And maybe in that process of looking in the mirror, we discover something really valuable about ourselves, something that goes beyond, algorithms and data and all of that.
I think that's very possible. The sources all seem to agree that it's our multidimensionality, that capacity for feeling deeply, for searching for something bigger than ourselves, for expressing ourselves creatively. Those are the things that really set us apart. And those are the things that ultimately give our lives meaning.
So it sounds like as we're going through all these rapid changes in technology, the most important thing is to remember that AI is just a tool. And like any tool, it can be used in a good way or a bad way. It's up to us to decide how it's going to be used to make sure it aligns with our values.
I completely agree. It's on us to define the role that AI is going to play in our lives in the future. And to do that, we need to be really clear about what we value about being human, what makes us unique, and what we want to make sure we hold on to as we move forward.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? As we wrap up this deep dive into human intelligence versus artificial intelligence, I think the biggest takeaway is this. Don't be afraid to ask these big questions.
Yeah.
The really big ones. Don't shy away from thinking about what AI means for us, for how we understand ourselves and the world.
Embrace what makes you human, all those different dimensions. Cultivate your creativity, your empathy, that sense of wonder you have, that connection to something bigger than yourself. Those are the things that are going to guide us as we explore this new territory. And ultimately, they're what's going to shape the future, not just for humanity, but for AI as well.
That's a really powerful message and a really hopeful one, too. Thanks for joining us on this journey of exploration and discovery. Until next time, keep searching, keep questioning, and keep embracing the wonder of being human.